Hi, we're here today with Emeritus Professor Dr. Monte Nyman, and at this point today we want to talk a little bit about one of his books that has really withstood a test of time. It's entitled "Great Are the Words of Isaiah." Dr. Nyman wrote this book in 1980, and it's still a great reference for people that want to understand the words of Isaiah. So without further ado, Dr. Nyman, tell us a little bit about how this book came about.
Well, thank you, Steve. I'd be happy to. This is one of my, not supposed to be prideful, but this is one of the books that I'm very proud of. And it, again, has a very unique coming about, I guess. I have a very good friend named David Sam, who is a federal judge in Salt Lake City. Many of you may have heard of him, but he was my missionary companion many, many years ago. And when he was a district judge in the Provo area, he came up and sat in my class that I taught in Isaiah. And in one of the classes, he said, "Why don't you publish these things?" And I said, "Well, I don't know as anyone would really want to read something about Isaiah." And he said, "Well, I think they would." So I went to work and put it together. But I think it's rather unique that it's been in print for 30 years. But why I got interested in Isaiah is I wondered why there would be 19 complete chapters of Isaiah that are published in the Book of Mormon, quoted by the various prophets. Nephi, of course, quoted most of them. And then there are, as well as the 19, there are two others that are almost completely quoted by Christ. And then there are one that just has 2 verses quoted from it, but in total there are 22 different chapters of Isaiah, the Savior himself quoting some of them. And then he made some interesting statements. In the 23rd chapter, 3rd Nephi, he said, "Search the prophets, yea, a commandment I give unto you, that you search the words of Isaiah. For great are the words of Isaiah." Now, I hope that wasn't plagiarism, but I borrowed that as the title for this book. And I went to Bookcraft, and they said, "Well, we're not sure that it will sell, but let's do what we can, see what we can do." They agreed, and we put it out in October of 1980, and we came back. I came back from Christmas vacation, went to my office. It was first part of the year of 1981. The phone rang, and it was the owner of Bookcraft, and he said, "Just thought I'd tell you that the 6,200 copies of your Isaiah book has sold."
Wow.
And I said, "Great." And I said, "What about a reprint?" He said, "It's already at the press." And this has gone through 22 different printings, plus now it's in, I don't know what printing. Cedar Fort does not do it in large volumes. They print them as they are needed, but it has sold thousands of copies. And the Savior also on another occasion said, "When the covenants made to the house of Israel are fulfilled, then will the words of Isaiah be fulfilled." And so Isaiah was writing to our day. And that has helped me to not skip, as Elder Packer said in 1986, read all of the Book of Mormon if all you do is pronounce the words of Isaiah. He said, the next time you read it, they will become plainer and plainer, and soon you will understand even what the great prophet said and why it is included in the Book of Mormon. I just, again, am very glad that I undertook this project. I followed it with another commentary, much briefer, on Jeremiah, and another on parts of Isaiah and Ezekiel, and then with my brother, who has passed away now, Ferris, we published what we call the 12 Prophets, and that's the little books from Hosea through Malachi. So we've tried to fulfill the commandment that the Savior said, search the prophecies of Isaiah.
Now, this is kind of unique in that we're commanded to study specifically the words of Isaiah. We're always admonished to study the Scriptures, but in terms of particular prophets, this is one that we're essentially commanded to study. Is that right?
It's the only one which has been singled out. We have many statements about search the prophets or search the Scriptures, but the only one in the Old or the New Testament that has been singled out is the words of Isaiah. I think that is a unique thing. Again, that's why I decided that I was going to try to understand why that was in there. And I'd just like to testify that I have had that confirmed to me, just as I have the Book of Mormon, that the words that Isaiah wrote are certainly written to us today.
What a treat. Thank you, Dr. Nyman, for taking some time to go over this book with us. Thank you.
Thank you.